Thank you very much. All right. First, let me go back to page 1 here. Good afternoon, members of the Mag Building Code Committee. This meeting is now called to order. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. When you make comments, please state your name, making a comment or asking questions. We're now beginning the meeting with a roll call of all members.
Anybody from Apache Junction? Brett Harris, Avondale.
Here.
Mike Izzo, Buckeye. Mike Tibbet, Carefree. Mike Baxley, Cave Creek.
Here.
Leray Hanley, Chandler. Brigham Bennett, El Mirage. Keith Easton, Florence. Anyone from Fountain Hills? Larry Taylor, Gilbert.
Present.
Georgie Pavlovic, Glendale.
Present.
Brian Bertucci, Litchfield Park. Dale Garcia, Maricopa. Mark Sipes, Maricopa County.
Here.
John Sheffer, Mesa. Chuck Ransom, Paradise Valley. Dennis Chase, Peoria.
Here.
Tom Wandry, Phoenix.
Here.
Mike Williams, Queen Creek.
Here.
Mike Clack, Scottsdale.
Here.
Tiffany Kopp, Surprise. Anyone from Tempe? Kevin Bruce, Wickenburg. Gregory Arrington, Youngtown. Chair Dale Crandall, Tolleson.
Present.
And substitute proxying for Randy Westacott, Goodyear, is Jeff Rollo.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do indeed have a quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is a call to the audience. This is an opportunity for the public to comment on items that falls under the MAG jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or that are not on the agenda for discussion or actions. We have no
requests to speak.
No request. Okay. We'll move to item number 3, approval of minutes from January 19th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
And we have a motion to approve by Mr. Dennis Chase and a second by Mr. Brett Harris. All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Oh, okay. We got to do this a little different now, don't we, Scott?
Yeah, we do have to do a roll call
Yeah,
after
we
that.
have to do a roll call one.
So I get to say everybody's name again.
Yep.
Jeff Rollo, Goodyear.
Aye.
Anybody from Apache Junction? Brett Harris, Avondale.
Aye.
Mike Izzo, Buckeye. Mike Tibbet, Carefree. Mike Baxley, Cave Creek. Mike Baxley, Cave Creek.
Yes.
Leray Hanley, Chandler. Brigham Bennett, El Mirage. Keith Easton, Florence. Anyone from Fountain Hills? Larry Taylor, Gilbert.
Aye.
Georgie Pavlovic, Glendale.
Aye.
Brian Bertucci, Litchfield Park. Dale Garcia, Maricopa. Mark Sipes, Maricopa County.
Aye.
John Sheffer, Mesa. Chuck Ransom, Paradise Valley. Dennis Chase, Peoria.
Aye.
Tom Wandry, Phoenix.
Aye.
Mike Williams, Queen Creek.
Aye.
Mike Clack, Scottsdale.
Aye.
Tiffany Kopp, Surprise. Anyone from Tempe? Kevin Bruce, Wickenburg. Gregory Arrington, Youngtown. Chair Dale Crandall, Tolleson.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right. So we have approval of the minutes. We'll move on to item 4, stem wall repair requirements. Item 4 number is stem wall repair requirements. Present is Bob Brown.
Yes. Are you ready for me?
Yeah, this item is for information and discussion after the presentation, okay?
Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen just to kind of help everybody understand what we're talking about, since it's kind of not widely understood. All right, can everybody see my screen?
We're
Looks good.
seeing the presenter slide portions.
Yes, right. Okay, great. So first of all, concrete, as you might know, starts out at a fairly high alkaline pH level. Over time, it becomes more acidic, has lots of pores that transmit water readily. Subject to the ground, these pores enter the concrete, travel up the stem wall, exit the side that's exposed to the face. And during that path of travel, it intercepts usually the top rebar and causes problems. When that happens, you get a chloride ion migration effect where the rusting of the rebar is accelerated through an ion exchange. And when this happens, the rebar, the iron oxide basically takes up more room than iron, becomes weaker, but takes up more room and starts putting pressure on the concrete, causing the cracks that you can see here. Over time, you can basically have problems all around that top rebar. And this is kind of what it looks like. In kind of an extreme version, it starts out with just a crack and over time ends up like this. And of course, just a few more things to talk about real quick. Hold down straps are also affected, which are problematic because they're on the outside, angle in, allowing the water to travel along that angle and deteriorate those, as well as J-bolts that are used basically to hold the walls in shear. And the problem is you get a lot of deterioration. You can have a problem like this. And sometimes in the course of doing the repairs, if you don't shore it, you can actually be at risk for slipping sideways and causing problems to the load-bearing wall on the perimeter. So that's just a quick a part of what I would like to talk about today. Now, in the past, this has not been permitted regularly. The city of Phoenix has required all of it to be permitted, which I support. I think it's a good idea. There's been a hodgepodge of approaches throughout the various cities on this. Some cities don't require any permitting whatsoever. Some cities only require permitting when there's a complete rebuild. In other words, a complete rebuild would be like the stem wall is completely deteriorated, where there's like no soil on the other side, like a garage or something like that. And or an area where it has just, completely deteriorated even next to the soil. And so those cities for anything longer than 4 feet have required permits. So there is kind of a mixture of approach that's not very uniform throughout the metro area. And right now, some cities, even Abilene, will say, okay, it's up to the workman on site. If you go back certain depth, it's required to be a permit. I think that's impractical because no workman is going to stop the job in the middle of his work when he excavates too far back into the concrete and then realizes that he's beyond the safety zone and is going to shut it down and go get a permit. I just think that that's probably not going to happen. So for this reason, the city of Phoenix has decided to just go ahead and create permits for every job, and that relieves the worker of that responsibility and makes it more uniform and safe throughout the process. So I support this, but there's a couple of problems that I want to bring to your attention that come with it. Number one, these are small jobs, half day, whole day, maybe on a really big job, 2 days. So enforcement can be very problematic. By the time you report somebody, they've patched it all up and gone, and it's very difficult. And inspections is difficult. It's, you know, as you can imagine, if you got a half-day job, to try to coordinate that with inspectors can be somewhat problematic. So a couple of suggestions might be to allow video inspections. City of Phoenix has been working with us on to use video. I'm not sure if we've got it completely nailed down, but we have an agreement that we're going to try it. I'm not sure where it is in the process. Currently, I think our company is the only one that is pulling permits regularly for this kind of work. And so there might need to be some sort of outreach to public or to contractors to let them know that if there's a change, that it's required for them to do this. So my proposal is, first of all, to try to gain some uniformity throughout the metro area in requiring permits for everything, similar to what the city of Phoenix has done. And then we can maybe address some of these other challenges at a later date, or we can address them now if you want. That's basically my presentation.
Thank you, Bob. Do any members have any questions or comments? I'll start off with a little bit of comment. I know in the city of Tolleson, we haven't, as I should say, had any residentials that we've had repairs on. We've had tilt-up wall panels that have corroded and caused problems, just like you showed right there. But it's a major structural. We do require them to have a structural engineer on it, and it's a long-term process to get that stuff fixed. But it is something that is problematic, especially with the groundwater and stuff, water moisture intrusion. It's big time problem.
I will tell you that when we go to some neighborhoods, almost every house is affected. And it depends on the age of the house. And sometimes it depends on, like, if the original contractor used chlorides to speed up the mix, then that exacerbates the problems, and which could explain why it travels in groups quite a bit. I would not be surprised to see Tolleson having this problem in some neighborhoods.
Oh, it does. Believe me, we just don't get very few people want to repair them.
Right.
That's, so there is nothing says you got to fix it, but it's a good idea to do it and have a system to do it right. Any other comments or questions on this topic? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5, Maricopa County On-Site Water Program Guidance. Here to present from Maricopa County is Mark Sight, who will introduce his guest speakers. These items are for information and discussion only.
All right, thank you. Actually, I'm going to turn it right over to Brian Kinitsley with Environmental Services. It's his program under the direction of Darcy Kober. So, Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. My name is Brian Nisley. I'm the managing supervisor in the on-site wastewater treatment program. So that's we essentially regulate and permit the septic systems within the county. And I do want to say I appreciate the opportunity to present this material and be here today, and you taking the time to be here as well. But the goal of this communication is basically to mirror kind of our relationship with our own building department. So Maricopa County P&D and the on-site wastewater treatment program, when we have permits for residential or commercial buildings that come in that are going to be on septic, this would be the ideal scenario of how those would be the building structures would be permitted in conjunction with the septic systems. So we created a document. I'm working with our public information officer on posting this online at the moment, but I do believe it's in your agenda packet, and the links seem to work within that packet as well. So it's imperative that if a municipality wants to take a proactive approach, that they ask their client or their resident or their permittee that they supervise basically the on-site wastewater treatment system authorization along the way. So below are some definitions of how our process works and our permitting system works. Frequently, what happens is they'll submit their application. After they submit their application, we'll review the plans and we'll issue a construction authorization or a certificate of approval to construct. This can be a bit of a pressure point between us and building jurisdictions, because we may require additional grading and drainage information or changes to the plan. And if we do, we would expect that the client go back to the building jurisdiction and submit the updated plans. So preferably what would happen is you would withhold a construction authorization or certificate of construction approval on your end until you see a certificate from us saying that construction is approved for the wastewater treatment system. The next step after that is that they install the system, it's inspected by us and then permitted. And what the resident will get at that point is a discharge authorization, and they'll also get a white tag. A white tag is what we physically leave behind, and the discharge authorization is the official document, but they both indicate an approved system. And it's imperative, in our opinion, that final building approval be held off until we've issued our discharge authorization, and you can be assured that the property has a permitted sewer disposal system on the site serving the property. There's a second scenario for existing systems. So that was new systems. That would be new construction, new businesses, new residences. There's a second scenario with existing systems where this is somebody's proposing essentially to remodel or alter their property, and we review the property to make sure whatever changes they're doing to the building, adding bathroom, bedroom, livable space, that the existing septic system is prepared to handle that change in use. And what we have with those is they'll submit their application, and then they'll get approval to proceed with the construction. And this can go kind of one of two ways that provides, creates a pressure point. Is frequently what will happen is we determine that their proposed construction is in excess of what their septic system can handle. So we will require them to submit for a new system or replace components of the system. If a property were to get final building approval for the remodel prior to us issuing a certificate of approval for the construction, this can lead to really messy legal situations on our side. We've had several examples of properties that have received final building approval for their proposed remodel, and our permit expires. We go back in and realize they proceeded with the construction and ignored our compliance items on that permit. And what happens then is we may pursue legal action that they didn't properly permit their property regarding their septic system. And those, like I said, tend to be messy, because what can happen too, and there's examples, unfortunately, of this, where the person remodeling the house, they are remodeling the house with the intention to increase its value and sell it. And when we contact the property owner, this property owner is actually one or maybe even two owners removed from the person that actually did the construction. And it comes as quite a shock to them, and can create a lot of resistance on our side pursuing legal action enforcement against these properties. So I would say it's imperative, if you're aware of residential or commercial construction or remodels going on within your jurisdictions that are being served by septic systems, that you look for the appropriate approvals from our program, from the on-site wastewater program, regarding the construction. And this document has links, so you can expect to see, if you're looking for a construction authorization, what one might look like. If you're looking for a discharge authorization, what one might look like. Or if you're looking for a certificate of approval, what one might look like. I would say that if they provide an email or a receipt that they applied for a permit, that isn't evidence enough that they've satisfied any needs as far as construction of construction approval for the wastewater treatment system on the property. So I would highly recommend taking a proactive approach and obtaining those documents in consideration of your approvals. And that's essentially what this document is for. It's posted on our website. It will be posted on our website. We're also working on a document geared more towards residents. Obviously, this will be available towards residents and people applying for permits, but one that's more geared as a Q&A, so that if I were relatively unaware of how a government permitting process might work, that it's a little bit more user-friendly for somebody in that scenario. But with that, that's my 2 cents regarding why we created this document and how I would envision it being utilized.
And I just wanted to mention real quickly that this document that I'm sharing on the screen right now is part of the packet. So you should have your own copy, or you can download it from our website. The meeting link was in the Gov delivery announcement.
And I did notice the
week.
hyperlinks seem to come through in that packet, so it should be
Good.
a fully functioning document.
Good.
Mr. Chairman?
There we go. Sorry about that. Do any members have questions or comments?
I do. Bill, Mike Baxley. Hey, quick question. Are you issuing your permit numbers at the time they come in and pay? I mean, traditionally, we've just required them to provide us the permit number for their septic system when they come in and apply for that, assuming at that point in time, it's already been taken care of by the county. Do you still issue the permit number at the end of the project, or are you just doing it whenever they come in and pay money and get a deposit down?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think that's part of the reason why this document became necessary. We do issue a permit number once they apply. So they get a permit number once they apply, and even before they've paid. They have an assigned permit number. So an email or a receipt with a permit number on it isn't verification that they've received any sort of approval, and is really just indicative that they've begun the process rather than work towards completion of the process. So and to add on to that, what I would look for is documents from the resident that indicate that they've received some sort of construction approval or some sort of discharge or final construction approval along the way as evidence that we've signed off on a project.
So one thing that would be very helpful is if it wasn't documents or any plural version, but only a singular document produced by the county that would go out. So our people aren't trying to discern whether or not it is accurate or not, and moving forward. I mean, in my opinion, it should just be one singular document saying, okay, here it is. So that way inspectors out in the field aren't being judge, jury, and executioner on this.
Yeah, well, I guess it would depend on what part of the construction process you're looking for verification on. So if you're looking for construction approval, we haven't issued final approval for it or a discharge authorization for them to connect to the sewer system. What I would say you look for in that is just look for a discharge authorization, kind of changing the nomenclature of the approvals, whether it be a construction authorization or a discharge authorization. We'll be somewhat restricted by that because these are steps outlined in the Arizona Administrative Code that we have to follow and issue approvals in this manner to comply with the code.
Any other comments?
Is that bulletin that you have there and that was included in our packet, is that on your website somewhere?
It's not on the website yet. I'm working with our public information officer to post it, but that should be done, I'm hoping, by the end of this week. And if you go to our website, there'll be design guides and additional documents. If you go into the additional information tab, you'll find a wealth of resources, but this is where that's where this guidance document will be posted.
Thank you.
So Brian, you covered a couple of different things. The ATC, the authorization to discharge, that's easy to spot for something that's brand new. So if it's a vacant lot and they're putting a brand new house, brand new commercial building and things, they're looking for that permit to discharge. But let's say there's an existing house and they're adding on to it. What does that permit look like? And do you specify that it's an additional X number of plumbing fixtures and that the existing septic is okay, or that they need to upsize the septic to accommodate or whatnot?
So if they need to upsize the septic, they actually won't receive a document that the document they'll receive would be a certificate of approval if they're remodeling and we're saying that this septic system on the property is sufficient to accommodate for the proposed remodel and construction. We will list the total number of fixture units and bedrooms on the certificate of approval, but if we have, I don't want to say we disapproved the construction, because we don't. If we have yet to approve it or have it on hold or have asked for a different type of application, they simply just won't have the certificate of approval to provide, because we will not issue it in that case.
Hey, Brian, one more question. Do you have this, the information searchable by address or parcel number to where it can be verified?
We do so if you go to a Acela Citizens Access, it's the hyperlink at the bottom of this. You can actually look up, if you have a permit number, you can look up to see where it is in our permitting process to see if it has, if it's past the construction authorization stage or if it's past the discharge authorization stage. And if you also investigate that part of the website, you'll notice that once a septic system is complete, we post it to public record. So it should be easily searchable. If you're looking for an approved permit, we add those to public record usually within 24 to 48 hours after they are approved. So that should be pretty quick too. But the Acela, the link at I think it's the very last link at the bottom of the document. You can search by permit number or address and view the status, the workflow, essentially, where we're at in the workflow on a particular permit.
All right, anybody else? Seeing none. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, updates to MAG Building Code Committee memberships. Please provide any updates to MAG Building Code Committee membership list to Scott. Okay, is there any updates at all from anybody? Okay. All right, and now we'll move to item number 7, update survey for code adoptions. Please provide Scott with any updates to surveys for the new code adoptions. Has anybody got their code adoptions going yet?
Maricopa County is on 2018 IBC or I codes and 2017 NEC.
And I think I already got it to you, Scott. We adopted the 21s in July.
And Scottsdale just recently adopted the 21 codes going into effect January 1st.
I know a few of you got them to me after this went out, but I'm gonna make sure I've got all these. So Scottsdale adopted the 21 codes,
Yes,
and Cave Creek did which ones?
21,
21. What are the effective dates for Cave Creek?
July 1, passed.
Yeah, and what about for Scottsdale? What was that effective date?
it'll be January 1st, with the exception of the green construction code. There's some discussion as to whether or not to make that mandatory, and if it is, that's the one that hasn't been adopted yet. But we would have a effective date of it on probably January of 24. That would be a recommendation anyway.
Yeah.
That council hasn't taken action on that yet.
Okay. And what was the effective date for Maricopa County?
19 September.
Scott, I don't know if it's appropriate or not at this point in time, but this is Dennis in Peoria. I'd like to know, for those of you that have adopted the 2021s, have you made any energy code modifications? Amendments?
Hey, Dennis, it's Mike. We did, and I can send them to if you like. Mostly it was in the insulation requirements. That was a big piece that got amended back to where we are at currently. And then there was a few things on electrical too.
That would be great. And if anybody else had a summary, we're looking at going this route too. So please, if you could email anything to me, I would greatly appreciate it.
Hey, Dennis, you may want to reach out to Randy too, because he's doing the same thing right now.
Okay. All right. Will do. Thank you.
Alrighty. Any other discussion on the code adoptions? Seeing none. Next topic would be future agenda items. If there are any requests by the committee members for any item for future agendas, please refer them to Scott so we can get them on a future agenda. Or you can call me, email me, either one. Anybody got anything at all? All right, seeing none. Well, the hard part. The next meeting for the Building Code Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022 at 2 p.m. With no further business today, this meeting is adjourned. Glad to see everybody. Appreciate it.
Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.